What does it mean to make a prediction? Well, you could call out lottery numbers and say, I know for a fact what the lottery numbers are going to be. Or you can go to the casino and be like, I know it's going to land on this number for roulette. Yeah, those aren't likely going to happen. But when it comes to making educated guesses, typically political commentators, myself and many leftists, will use the available information and say, because of this, here's what we think will happen. I think what a lot of people don't understand is that the missing context is, at least for me, I assume that people understand we're looking at a bunch of variables in front of us, that if I make a prediction 6 months early, I'll say, here's what I think is going to happen. I assume that people understand that things are going to change. And I often say this. But of course, there are people who just want to smear, and they'll take things out of context, and they'll take clips of me saying things and ignore all the other things I've said. Like when I've said over and over again that, hey, man, Biden really could win. He really could. Trump only won by like 88,000 votes through these key states. That being said, I am proud to say I absolutely predicted this part. And I have to say, for Trump supporters, if my predictions end up being true, you'll be very happy. And for the left, if they're true, you will be very, very sad. But guess what? If my predictions are wrong, then the left is going to claim that I was like calling lottery numbers. No. What I'm saying is this. Early on, I said my current thoughts. The media is going to call it for Biden. Trump will file legal suits and win. And then for the next 4 years, the left will scream Trump stole the election. We are watching the slow motion meltdown of leftists and media personalities so far. Does that mean that Donald Trump is going to win? No. I've said over and over again, I think we are on track for Joe Biden to be inaugurated. But Donald Trump isn't giving up. And the crazy thing is, although he faces setbacks periodically, and it doesn't look good for him in every legal battle, there are certain things happening that make me say, what? Case in point, Michigan refusing to certify the votes. I was about to make a joke. So we're doing the IRL podcast. We got Michael Malus. Very, 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 very cool dude. Just check him out. And he walks in and I'm like, I got a joke for you. And I was going to make a joke about Trump's failing legal claim. And then all of a sudden I see Michigan, Wayne County refuses to certify. And I was like, what? So it's things like that. Look, I base my predictions off of the currently available information, knowing that there's a million variables in front of me as to what may or may not happen. But one thing I thought was very likely was that they would call it for Biden. Trump would slowly start winning legal challenges. I said lawsuits, so I should probably clarify. Trump is still on track. He's going to the Supreme Court. My understanding is I kind of think he's not going to go anywhere with it at this point. But this was, November 4th. I was talking about Trump's legal challenges, his legal claims, and we'll see what happens. Now it's kind of looking like that's not really going to play out. But it's starting to look like in Wisconsin, you've got recount issues. Trump has filed for another recount in Georgia, and they've approved it, even though they've already certified the results. You got Michigan, where the Republicans are calling for a delay in certification. That is what Trump needs for a contingent election victory. In Pennsylvania, however, Trump got blown out by the judge who was really not having any of Trump's campaign lawsuits, saying you presented no evidence and specious legal claims and basically get out of my court. Well, the Trump campaign's response was good. Thank you for expediting the process so we can go to the Supreme Court, where, of course, Trump has 3 of his own appointees on the court. I don't know if these people are going to play politics, Amy Coney Barrett, Brett Kavanaugh, Gorsuch, or, Clarence Thomas, or whoever might want to help Donald Trump win. But the Trump campaign seems to think that's their path. I'm not so convinced. I think Trump's going for a contingent election victory right now. But anyway, more to the point. When I'm talking about predictions, it's because I want to show you this. A tweet from Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks in all caps. He said, Donald Trump is in the middle of trying to steal this election. He very, very clearly lost. He is asking state legislators to not award the electors of their states to the person who won. This is a political coup. This is what dictators do. This is happening right now in America. All caps. Whoa, whoa. Yeah, I predicted this. I'm pretty sure I was actually talking about this recently on the IRL podcast when I said that, you remember that night, election night from 2016, where Cenk Uygur is like, oh no, we lost this state, but we can still win if we get these states. No, Pennsylvania. And then finally he's like, we can still win if we get Wisconsin. God, he starts yelling. He is the epitome of the 2016 meltdown. I'm not trying to be mean to Cenk, but that video has gone viral where, conservatives are showing this. That's why what I'll say to Cenk is, I think he's been disrespectful to me. I think the Young Turks have been. And I've mostly said neutral to nice things about them, which is unfortunate. But my only thing is, I'm not trying to come down on the guy. I just think Cenk needs to chill out a little bit. This is exactly what I thought was going to happen. It doesn't mean that Trump is going to win, okay? What it means is early on, I think I said this like 2 days ago. First they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then you win. That's like the old saying, or one of them. I said that we were going to start seeing a slow motion meltdown, like 2016, where we had the one day where they were all sure they were going to win. And then slowly but surely, Trump started pulling out, winning these states. And then all of a sudden, we started seeing more and more leftists slowly melt down throughout the night. Now, I said, I think we might end up seeing a slow motion meltdown over a month. I think I said it like several times, to be completely honest. And it's starting. It's starting here with Cenk Uygur. And not just him. There are many people who are now tweeting, this is a coup. Trump's trying to steal the election. But, Cenk being like the dude from 2016, I thought it would be important to highlight his tweet. Trump is jamming up the system. Now, you can say it's what dictators do. I would actually say, look, I'll throw it to the redheaded libertarian Josie down here. She says, LOL, you think dictators ask permission to steal elections? Well, I'm going to take the middle ground on this one. Yeah, sometimes they use the legal process to gain power. Dictators don't just walk in with a bunch of armed troops and just like seize a building. They need to win hearts and minds. So while I certainly don't think Trump using the constitutional process to file legal challenges is him being a dictator, I will say I personally will be absolutely unhappy, nay angry, if Trump pulls off a legal contingent election victory with no evidence of legitimate fraud. So what I mean by this, if Donald Trump does go to the Supreme Court and all of this talk of bombshells and Dominion turns out to be true, I'm going to be extremely happy. So if you're a Trump supporter and you think all that stuff's true, well then great. If they come out and they say, here's the proof, and I've seen weird things, but we need the hard evidence. We need testimonies. We need things like that. If they can prove all that, that's going to be one of the greatest things for this country. Weeding out mass corruption in our political system would be fantastic. But think about what it would mean if Trump doesn't win. He gets everything thrown out of court. And then he says, we have the proof. They're stealing it. And people still come out and Trump tries to win through jamming certifications. So in Michigan and Wisconsin, for instance, where and now Georgia, yikes, and Arizona, you got 4 states that are up in the air. What happens if we're never presented evidence, but due to Trump's legal challenges and the GOP's legal challenges, they just stop certification? That is the worst. It's the worst of the worst. I won't accept it. I would not. I will. Look, I voted for Trump. Okay. I think the Democrats are doing dangerous things, but if he's going to win through a contingent election, we better see proof, because that is scary stuff. It's the kind of stuff that can lead to civil war. I know a lot of people are probably saying, oh no, Tim, not civil war. Dude, come on. At this point, are you seriously, to all those people who are like, it's never going to happen, are you seriously still in that frame of mind that Trump, they say, lost the election, the Electoral College and the popular vote by huge percentage points, by millions of votes, but Trump does have a path to victory. Maybe it's slim, and I do think Joe Biden is on that track, but I don't know, man. I don't underestimate either of them. I won't. The left likes to claim that I underestimated Joe Biden. Yeah, probably to a certain degree, but probably as much as many leftists did, like Cenk Uygur, for instance, who said the dude had dementia. I think we were all going pretty hard on Joe Biden in a lot of ways, but I think it's also fair to point out that I and many other leftists also said, Joe Biden does have something that can help him win. I looked to certain personalities and I heard what they were saying. I said, that's actually a good point. Donald Trump won by only about 88,000 votes throughout 3 states. So there is a strong possibility. And I said to Trump supporters, don't underestimate your opponent, because then you will lose. And I said it over and over and over again. I can't tell the future. I can make some predictions. I actually, as much as the left doesn't want to admit it, have a light tendency to be correct. And I'm not saying that I'm right all the time. No, I'm saying I'm right just enough to sometimes be like, hey, I called that one. Let me show you where we're at right now. Check this out. It's crazy. Trump campaign requests Georgia recount that's unlikely to change his loss in the state. And apparently it's going to happen. Georgia will conduct another recount of its presidential ballots following a Trump campaign request Saturday. But the recount is extremely unlikely to change his loss in the state. Because the margin is still less than 0.5%, the president can request a recount after certification of the results. The recount will be conducted by rescanning all paper ballots. Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger had said in a statement on Friday after a state audit of the presidential results had been completed. President-elect Joe Biden, who was declared the winner Friday, declared by who? Listen, the media, I'll give this to Cenk Uygur. I'll give this to him, okay? He is well ahead of the media on this. And for that, my respect. I think he's a little over the top with the all caps, is a coup. But I'm telling you, man, Cenk is pointing out that Trump is moving forward. He is not being, listen, all these leftists are like, Trump is losing. He's so dumb. His lawsuits are getting thrown out. His lawsuit has to go to the Supreme Court. That's their play. They don't need it to go to a federal judge. They need to go to the federal judges, Supreme Court, where, in case you've forgotten, he's appointed 3 of the Supreme Court justices. And based on the new SCOTUS assignment, Amy Coney Barrett oversees Wisconsin, Brett Kavanaugh oversees Michigan, Alito oversees Pennsylvania, and Clarence Thomas oversees Georgia. Trump has not lost, and it's hard to know. Look, let me do this. Trump campaign thanks Obama-appointed judge who rejected their bid to overturn Pennsylvania's result, called Rudy unhinged, and compared their lawsuit to Frankenstein's monster because he helped get their case to the Supreme Court. Maybe one big con. Entirely possible. I wouldn't put it past Trump. Trump's a savvy businessman. He knows how to make money. They're fundraising off all this. Perhaps. Yeah. I'm not going to be a MAGA flag, waving guy with a Trump hat on or anything like that. If Trump is pulling a fast one on his supporters, well, you know what? I could believe it. But I could also believe that they want to go to the Supreme Court. Now, maybe this is some kind of PR play, because it's very much a propaganda war right now, where they're like, we didn't lose, we wanted to lose. Listen, if the federal judge sided with Trump, they'd be cheering and celebrating a victory. The fact that it's moving up to the Supreme Court, it's kind of a nothing. It's a nothing, like nothing has happened, okay? The left is going to come out and say, like, Trump got roasted, Trump loses. But the legal fight hasn't stopped. They're literally going to do another recount in Georgia. Trump is jamming up the certification process, in my opinion. This is what I think is happening, in order to get a contingent election victory. You may remember, back in July, I covered this. I said this was going to happen. So here's what I said about Cenk Uygur. I said, I predicted this, not the coup thing, the Cenk Uygur meltdown thing. I said, we're going to start seeing a slow motion leftist meltdown. But again, just because we're at this point where Cenk is, posting all caps doesn't mean Trump is going to win. Let me make that clear. It could turn around. But I thought we would start to see the slow motion meltdown, and it is coming. It absolutely is. But I also did predict the coup thing. Not that I think it's necessarily a coup that Trump is using the legal process for the most part, but in July, this whole thing was written by MSNBC's co-founder that Trump could pull this off even if he loses. And I actually said it seemed like resistance, absurdity, and I mocked the idea. These people are crazy. But here we are. Here we absolutely are. And then over the past month or so, I said Trump could try and go for a lawfare victory. And what did they say? Tim's a grifter. He keeps saying Trump can still win. Trump can still win. Well, I said it before Cenk Uygur did, and now he's saying it. So at what point are we going to keep inching forward where more and more people start to realize, wait a minute, Trump actually winning? Check this out from the Hill. They say Trump plows ahead with efforts to overturn the election. Oh, they're not saying Trump is being knocked back. They're not saying Trump is being obliterated, destroyed, or losing. They're saying he's plowing ahead. I'm concerned about a Donald Trump victory that involves no evidence, and I'll tell you why. This is a story from Reuters. Why Republican voters say there's no way in hell Trump lost. And there's a quote. If President Trump comes out and says, guys, I have irrefutable proof of fraud, the courts won't listen, and I'm now calling on Americans to take up arms, we would go, said Fryer wearing a button-down shirt, press slacks, and a paisley tie during a recent interview at his office. That's a scary statement. That is very scary. You know what the problem is? Reuters just put out fake news the other day, and I called them out for it. Washington Post, Politico, and I'm talking about the fakest of fake news. Listen, Trump likes to say enemy of the people and the fake news and all that stuff. And usually my response to that is yes, but that they use framing devices. The easiest way to understand framing devices is the dihydrogen monoxide hoax. You maybe, if you're familiar with my content, you know, but for those that aren't, basically you ask someone if we should ban dihydrogen monoxide. It's a dangerous chemical. If you inhale a little bit, you can die. And, you know, it's used for cleaning car batteries and vehicles and stuff like that. And it's actually in our food. And then people get scared when they hear it. But in reality, dihydrogen monoxide just means water. That's a framing device. So the media will take something that's a morsel of truth and then twist it to make it fake. Case in point, Donald Trump throwing all the food into the koi pond. If you've seen the video, this was years ago. So he's got all this food in a little dish. The camera zooms in and he just dumps it all in the water and everyone made fun of him. But they zoomed in, literal framing. So you didn't know that Trump was just following Shinzo Abe of Japan. So he was with, I think Shinzo is the president, maybe prime minister, I don't know. But Shinzo throws the food and then Trump goes, okay, and then throws his in as well. They framed it so you wouldn't notice that. But what we're seeing now from Reuters, Washington Post, Politico is literal lies. They claimed that Donald Trump dropped his suit over 700,000 or so ballots because there were no observers. That never happened. All of these outlets were saying it. And you could look at the document and see they were arguing. Not only that, you could listen to the audio from the court case where Giuliani was saying, this is a problem. This is what one of the things we're challenging. The judge was like, what do you want me to do? Throw out all the votes? That's crazy. But the media was lying about it. Why? Maybe they've become so inept that they're just failing. Or maybe they're trying to demoralize Trump's base by having them believe Trump isn't really on their side, that Trump doesn't want that Trump is just manipulating them or stealing money from them, and that he's actually given up. But it wasn't true. And that was really creepy and really scary. So now when I see this story where someone says if President Trump comes out and says I have irrefutable proof, take up arms, they would do it. That's scary. You know why? I'm not blaming this dude for saying I don't trust the media. He's saying I trust Trump. And I get it, because Trump is the most lied about president in history. That's not a quote from me. I think that's from Matt Taibbi. The most who's lied and the most lied about. Trump does lie all the time. Or I should say, the difficulty here with Trump giving out false information is that lie implies intent. I can say Trump is wrong a lot, but there are instances where it's really obvious Trump's lying, but he lies about dumb things, you know, like everybody loves me, everybody agrees with me. And it's things like that. Like I was at a club once and people were like, Trump, you're the greatest. It's like stuff like that. But then there's other times where he like just blurts out the truth. We got our troops withdrawn from Syria. We still got we still got a few hundred guarding the oil. And it's like, okay. He just blurts it out. But he's the most lied about. And so you've got a lot of people who don't trust the media and a lot of people who just trust Trump. And so now what's happening is you're going to have two factions. Trump could come out right now and say, the media is lying to you. And they're going to be like, we know. We've seen it. Think about how crazy it is that the media said Trump dropped the lawsuit. And you could be like, okay, let me pull up the lawsuit. Wait a minute. It's still there. They were hoping that these people would not read the actual complaint filing. But Giuliani said, read this paragraph. And I said, okay. And I read it and I was like, there it is. Then I listened to the audio and Giuliani argued with the judge about what they were claiming in the, and I was, how did the Washington Post, Politico, Reuters, even Daily Mail, who's not the most, the best bastion of journalism, but all of these outlets were just wrong. That can't be a coincidence, can it? They all just simultaneously got it wrong. None of these outlets, not a single one, read the actual complaint filing. I did. I heard it and I said, let me read it. And I did. And I was like, there it is. So come on, man. Therein lies the big problem here. The Trump campaign, it says they're happy about losing in Pennsylvania. And I'll tell you what you're going to hear. The left is going to say Trump got obliterated. The right is going to say, you know, the judge helped Trump. Now he's going to move to the Supreme Court. Trump's laughing. And you're going to see from the hardcore Trump supporters, they're going to be posting saying, aha, this Obama judge just threw it out. Now Trump gets to go to the Supreme Court where his real plan is going to come into fruition. Maybe. I'm not telling you which one to believe. It's true. Trump got blown out. I mean, this judge was going nuts. And the judge is a Republican. Maybe he's a rhino. I don't know. We call him whatever you want. But the judge was like, what are these claims you're making? This is ridiculous. But it's true. He was an Obama appointed judge, to the say. They say, this is what the Trump campaign statement. Today's decision turns out to help us in our strategy to get expeditiously to the U.S. Supreme Court. Although we fully disagree with this opinion, we're thankful to the Obama-appointed judge for making this anticipated decision quickly, rather than simply trying to run out the clock. We will be seeking an expedited appeal to the Third Circuit. There is so much evidence that in Pennsylvania, Democrats eliminated our opportunity to present 50 witnesses and other evidence that election officials blatantly ignored Pennsylvania's law denying independent review. This resulted in 682,777 ballots being cast illegally, wittingly or unwittingly. This is just an extension of the big tech, big media corrupt Democrat censorship of damning facts the American people needs to know. There it is, still making that same claim. But why did the media lie about that? That's the creepiest thing. The creepiest thing out of all of it. We're disappointed we did not at least get the opportunity to present our evidence at a hearing. Unfortunately, the censorship continues. We hope the Third Circuit will be as gracious as Judge Brand in deciding our appeal one way or the other as expeditiously as possible. This is another case that appears to be moving quickly to the U.S. Supreme Court. Rudy Giuliani. Perhaps Rudy Giuliani is an old crackpot. He is well past his prime and he has lost the sharp wit that allowed him to succeed in the past. Or maybe he is an artisanal master of his craft who has sharpened his blade over decades and a storied career. Depends on which tribe you're in, I guess. On the left, he's he's a crackpot, unhinged, and it's melting down. And apparently the judge said that. On the right, Rudy Giuliani is one of the best of the best who took down the mafia in New York City. I'll tell you this. Giuliani is one of the best who took down the mafia in New York City. That's a fact. I don't know if he still got it, what his play is, what his plan is. But to come out and call him unhinged and to mock his appearance and things like that, you're not winning an argument. So I tweeted something out the other day from Sun Tzu. The most dangerous thing you can do is underestimate your opponent. And I'll tell you this. I'm not entirely convinced Trump supporters underestimated Joe Biden to their own detriment, but I do think they did underestimate Joe Biden a bit. Absolutely. And I had been warning over and over and over again. But the hardcore Trump supporters had been saying not to. Do not underestimate your opponents. They were worried about fraud. And so they're in the battle that many of them expected to be in. But as for Trump, right now, the media is underestimating Trump. And so I will leave with this. I do not agree with Cenk Uygur on many issues, but I will give him my utmost respect in that he is absolutely not underestimating Donald Trump. And I think the Trump supporters recognize that as well. A lot of people are already making fun of him, laughing because it's an all caps crazy tweet. I said I predicted it. Let me tell you, you might laugh at Cenk Uygur. Don't underestimate him either. Never underestimate your opponent. This guy right here is calling out what he sees coming that no one else is talking. Very few people are starting to talk about. Many of these media outlets are just like, I don't know, it's not going to happen. Trump's losing. What a whiny baby. And Cenk's the one who's running forward saying this is bad. Trump could win. I disagree with Cenk, but I respect him for actually having the gall to come out and know this, like to say the probability is here. Trump is doing this. He's making these moves. Why aren't you listening? Never underestimate your opponent. Cenk Uygur isn't. Are you underestimating him? I wouldn't. Absolutely not. And I'll give him the respect on this part too. The dude is extremely successful. Okay, he's built people who are successful at building careers and businesses do so because they're better at predicting things, at least in some capacities. He's been able to build a massive empire, a media empire. Gets a lot of views, tens of millions, 50, 60 million per month. And he's super wealthy. I'm not going to act like he's a moron. I think he knows what he's doing. And I think he knows better than a lot of the legacy media. Now, I think he needs to tone it down a little bit, to be completely honest. But when he comes out and says this, maybe they'll listen. Maybe they won't. And it'll be unfortunate, but I do think the media and the leftists are going to underestimate Trump until it's too late. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel. Thanks for hanging out, and I will see you all then.